Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for once again tuning in to join us live on the African Reform Movement channel, where we discuss all things to do with African reform with a particular emphasis on Ghana. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We hope this conversation is very stimulating for you and you can engage and join in. My name is Uche, and as always, we have Dr. Nee and Udako, who's going to be sharing his topic today. If you're new, let's let you know a few things. We have a number of different platforms for Dr. Nee that can communicate with him on. These are all on his description box. So if you don't get a chance to write it down now, no problem. It's at the bottom of this video on YouTube. Okay, so that's all up there. Again, Dr. Nee's written a number of books: Weep Not Africa, The Fifth Republic, Tete Kwashi, The Star to Follow, amongst others. So please do take advantage of his bookstore. Get to reading his books, get to seeing and understanding how he's arrived at the way that he thinks now. Why does he think the way he thinks? How has he arrived at certain conclusions that he's made? Read the books and they'll help you understand. Okay. So today's topic is called Ghana on the Brink. As you know, Dr. Nee keeps pays a lot of attention to what's happening in Ghana, obviously, with regards to the economy and so on and so forth. And we've seen a number of his predictions come to pass as we have been airing these live streams since last April. So do please pay attention to what he's saying. And don't forget to put your questions in the chat box and we will pick those up at the end of his workshop, okay? Dr. Nee, over to you.
Thank you very much. The last 2 weeks have seemed to be like 1 year. Yeah, good morning to everybody in Ghana and all over the world. We are talking about Ghana on the brink. And I'm sure most of you are thinking that what is going on in Ghana? The CD or the dollar has crossed 15 cities. Last year, by this time, it was, I think, 5.5 cities to the dollar. And when I got to Ghana, 1st January this year, it was 6 to the dollar. Now it is 15, it's crossed 15 to the dollar. And for me, this is not new. This is what I predicted just after the budget was read last November. And other thing that I said, but now I'm saying that Ghana is on the brink. And why am I saying that? Can you please have the first slide? Ghana on the brink. Nothing is infinite. In my language translates to nothing is infinite. It doesn't matter what you do. If you start with lies, the lies will get exhausted. If you start with propaganda, it will come to an end. If you start with borrowing, it will come to an end. Everything that you start with will come to an end. And when the end comes, we say that that system is on the brink of collapse. We've had so many lies. As a matter of fact, this MPP government came to power through lies. Absolute lies about what they could do, about what was possible. And of course, people were so gullible, nobody asked them the correct questions. I asked few questions and I was labeled. But here we are now. It doesn't matter what you do. They lied, and of course, the incumbent then couldn't counter or neutralize the lies of Delirious Baumia, who is now the vice president. Now, it doesn't talk about the currency anymore. He's not talking about digitalization because there's something he could do. Lies upon lies, and then they went to loans, they went to Euro bonds. Now, nobody wants to give Ghana loans, so that too has expired. Now, they came into domestic borrowing. They've done everything. That's also finished. Now, they've gone to Afri-Ezim, $750 million. It came sometime in August. It's gone now. They're waiting for cocoa to come next month, 1.3 billion. That will go in 3 months because they are spending $450 million to import fuel. So 1.3 just for 3 months, it will go. Then what next? Ghana is on the brink. Next slide, please. Now, there are grossly two arms of the economy, monetary and fiscal. Monetary is controlled or is supposed to be controlled by the central bank, which is the Bank of Ghana, and fiscal service controlled by the government to the Minister of Finance. At the moment, we've got a complete monetary meltdown. Complete monetary meltdown. One half the economy is in absolute downward spiral. Inflation, no control. I understand they said official inflation now is 42%. Now, I don't even follow it anymore. In August or thereabout, it was 33, and they increased the interest rate by 3 percentage points. It went from 19 to 22, and then the inflation actually got worse to 37, and then they increased it by 2.5 to a rate of 24.5 now, and the inflation apparently is now 42. I don't know whether it's absolutely correct or not, but others I estimate the inflation to be around 100 already. Now, those who live in Ghana and those who buy things on the market will tell you that it's like 100 more than 42, but everything is going downwards. And they don't even understand that the economy has many moving parts. Okay, if you are increasing interest rate to rein in inflation and you are not being successful, you got to stop, because increasing interest rate also kills business, because people loans that they have acquired for doing whatever, they have to pay new interest on the loans. And if they cannot pay the loans, their business will collapse and there'll be unemployment and the country will be plunged into recession. All right. But they don't know what to do. Increasing inflation, increasing interest rate, not bringing inflation down. Then also we have the city convulsions. Why are we not going to have city convulsions when in the first 6 months of the year the Bank of Ghana printed 22 billion cedis to finance government budget deficit, because government is not getting the revenue it thought it would get, and it's spending more than it thought it would spend. So the deficit has widened and it needs money to cover it. And the money is not coming from loans as it used to do from the Eurobond market, and it's not coming from bilateral loan sources. So they have to cut. Now, when you cut money and you increase the supply of cities, or you over increase the supply of cities in the economy, city becomes cheap and the value falls and it becomes inflationary, because when value of something falls, prices become relatively more expensive. This is basic economics 101. So by cutting the money into a system to finance the budget deficit, you are at the same time increasing supply of money, causing more inflation, which is ahead of what the interest rate can do. So you are actually not solving a problem, you are creating more problem. But they don't seem to understand. And when you do that, the city falls because you have limited dollars on the market with so much cities. So relatively, the city falls against the dollar, and that's what is happening now. So now the city has crossed 15 cities to the dollar, and the circles continues. So there's a complete, what do you call that? Monetary meltdown. Now I understand. What was that? One of my younger brothers, Aura, sent me a clip about Ghana now going to buy gold and use gold as its reserve currency or whatever. I said, what a joke. So I told Aura that, they believe their own propaganda. But Aura, let me tell you something. There's something called first law of thermodynamics. Okay, first law of thermodynamics, and it states that the total energy of a system is constant. Although you can change one form of energy to the other, the total amount of energy in the system is constant. Okay, now because they didn't go to school well, they don't understand these basic things. It doesn't matter what you do with the money you have. The total amount of money in Ghana is constant. You can change the money from cedi to dollar, dollar to gold, to whatever. It is still constant. The only way you can get out of your mess is to increase your output. is to increase your revenue by production, by more effective tax system, and to reduce expenditure through prudence governance. All these gymnastics do not do anything, because to buy the gold, you must have the money anyway. And at the beginning of the year, gold actually was about $2,000 per ounce. Now it's in around 1,600 per ounce. So it's not even retaining the value that it used to. It's still much, much higher than the $300 at the end of 1999 or what thereabouts. But you have to have the money to buy the gold in the first place. The problem we have has got nothing to do with the form of currency we have, CD, dollar, whatever. The system only produces so much money, and that's what it is. You can change from one form of energy to another, but the total amount of energy is constant. The boys must know this. All right. Next slide, please. Then we have the fiscal collapse. All right. And I told them this when Ken produced the ASA budget. I said, Ken, your revenue projections will not materialize. Okay. It's not just, you are not just being over ambitious, you are lying. You know you never get some amount of money. But you want to present to the financial markets that your budget deficit is not too bad. Like they were predicting that it's going to be the widest budget deficit in the junk economy world. So you bump up your revenue and you narrow down your expenditure so that you would get a reasonable deficit. And so you came out with deficit of 36 billion cedis last of 11 months ago. And I told you there, Ken, that we are going to get a deficit of close to 50 billion cedis rather than 36 billion. And we'll see what will happen in November when we present the next budget, whether the deficit is 36 billion or is close to 50 billion, as I predicted. Now, when you have a deficit of 50 billion to finance, and you don't have any external inflows like you used to do when you go and sell Eurobond and those things, then your only recourse is to print more money. Your only recourse is to print money, because one way or the other, you have to bridge the deficit. And so then that loop feeds into the monetary collapse. I mean, we have a system where the what was the name of that guy? The governor of Bank of Ghana actually told the whole world that they gave you an overdraft of 22 billion, which actually meant that they printed the money for you and they were negotiating with you the ceiling of the overdraft. So in other words, the overdraft doesn't have a ceiling. If you need more money, you go to them and they'll print you. I mean, he told the whole world this, yet he expects the world to have confidence in our system. Sometimes I really wonder what is going on. Because this is so fundamental, this is so infantile, to tell the whole world that you have an open overdraft mechanism for the government, and you are now negotiating with the government to put a ceiling on it. So if the government comes, oh, print 40 billion for me, that's what I need. There's no ceiling, you print, and then you are wondering why your inflation is just going up, why your interest rate is not arresting inflation, and you are wondering why the city is so weak. It's so weak that if nothing is done by December, it will get to 20 to the dollar. And that's where we are heading. And that's why I say Ghana is on the brink. So monetary policy has collapsed completely. They have no clue what to do with the depreciating cedi and what to do with the galloping inflation. The two major issues in the monetary world. And the government has no clue how to solve the fiscal problem. They went to Afri-Ezin for 750 million. 750 million cannot even buy 2 months of fuel. It's gone. Now we have $750 million to pay as loan, because it wasn't free. And the last document I received a few days ago says that our reserves, international reserve, which was 9 months of imports at the beginning of the year, now is only 2 months of imports. Now, if you people would know, Sri Lanka collapsed when the reserves got to 1 week of imports. Sri Lanka collapsed when its debt to GDP was 122%. As we are speaking now, with the fast deterioration of the city, I would be surprised if the GDP to the debt to GDP, as I speak now, is about 100%. I would be surprised at all, because 53% or so of our debt is now in dollars. You see, 53% of our debt is in dollars. So as your currency becomes weaker against the dollar, you have to change more cedis to get the same dollars that you were changing before with less cedis. And secondly, because the denominator, the GDP itself is calculated in cedis by its index in dollars. If your for instance, if Ghana's GDP in cedis was 600 billion at the beginning of the year, that would have given us $100 billion. Okay, now the same 600 billion will only give us 40 billion GDP. So then you realize that if your GDP is small and your debt goes up, then the GDP to debt ratio is going to be high. Our GDP has reduced by so much from 100 to 40 from January to now. So you can imagine the effect. Our only lack is that we don't have 100% of our debt in dollars. Because if we do, by now we'll be around 150 debt to GDP ratio. But I'm very confident. I'm not taking time to actually calculate it, but I'm quite sure that we are almost, if probably we are 100 or a bit more, our debt to GDP is probably 100% or more. This is very serious. And that's why I'm saying that we are on the brink. Sri Lanka collapse when the debt to GDP go to 122. We are very, very close there. Sri Lanka collapse when its reserves drop to a week of imports. We have 2 months of import, and from the look of things, it appears that every month we lose 1 month of imports. So I'm sure by the end of October, we'll probably left with 1 month of imports. And by the end of November, we'll be left with no reserves at all, unless something drastically happens. Next slide, please. State collapse. The fixes of state collapse. You see, the state collapse, as far as I'm concerned, comes in two forms. The tangible, the physical, which is governed by physical laws, and the intangible, which in my opinion, is governed by the spiritual laws. The physical laws basically state that every material has got an inner or intrinsic strength we call yield strength. So that if you put pressure, if you put load on the material will recoil as long as you haven't reached the yield, the yield strength. That strength, the inner strength of the system, allows it to rebound and to recover when the load applied is removed. That's how every system works. In Ghana, we say, the human being is stretchable, it's elastic. It can absorb a lot of pressure before it breaks down. The same thing applies to nations, applies to anything and everything. Now, when you reach or when the load is bigger than your yield strength, you get to the yield point. Now, when you apply the load and you remove the load, the material doesn't recoil to its original position anymore. The elastic deformation, which happened before we got to the yield strength, has changed now to plastic deformation. And that's what happens when your debt becomes unsustainable, when your debt becomes more than your system can actually pay. And that's what they call default. That's what happens when your deficit is way beyond what you can reasonably repair, even within 10 budget cycles. Your inner strength has been overwhelmed by your debt and deficit. And when you get to that point, you are no longer recoiling to your original position, but you're rather moving towards a more dangerous point called the breaking point. When you apply further load beyond the yield point, it results in breakage of the system. It results in irreversible collapse of the system. When you are taking loan from Afrezim to add to original to the loan you have already, thinking that that will solve your problem, and then you solve the problem after 2 months, the money is gone. You have added more debt. You have added more weight. You have added more load to the already stretched system, and that will take you to where? To the breaking point. And that's where we are. Ghana is at the breaking point, and you can see it clearly. The city is falling by 3-4% every day. Incredible. 15 cities to the dollar. At the beginning of the year, if you went to Ghana, or if you had 600 cities in Ghana, you get $100 from any forex bureau. Today, if you have the same 600 cities, you get only $40. And salaries have remained the same. So every $100 that you earned in January, you are not earning $40 for the same work done. Is that sustainable? Obviously not sustainable. And that's where the problem is. That's where we are. That is where we are. And it's not going to be any easier because the fundamentals are zero. None. We don't produce anything. We import everything. I understand frozen chicken we eat or whatever, 90% is imported. We import tomatoes from Burkina Faso. So the fundamentals are there. We overspend. 16 regions, 260 districts, over 100 ministers, 275 MPs. Australia, with all its money, has only 150 MPs. How can Ghana justify 275 MPs? Australia has, I think, 22 ministers or something like that. Yeah, how many do we have in Ghana? Yes, we'll talk true. So the state is collapsing. And nothing can save Nana Addo, because apart from the tangible reason I've given, we have the intangibles. And I believe we have the intangibles, the spirituality of the Armageddon. One, Nana has breached the Shrine for Power agreement he made with whichever date. He promised to build a cathedral to the deity that gave him power. Because this man was so desperate for power, he went everywhere and said, well, but if I give you power, you have to do this for me. I need a big house. I need a tabernacle in the heart of the city of Accra. If I give you power, and I know what I'm going to do to give you power, yes, I need a tabernacle in the heart of the city of Accra. And then I wanting power, agreed to it. Now he cannot build a cathedral. He can't build it. So spiritually, he's gone. Don't forgive him. And he knows what I'm saying is true. And the same goes for the death of his own cousin, J.B. Dankwa. He hasn't said a word about the mysterious death of his cousin. And he was the last person, apparently, that the cousin saw before people went to his room and killed him and did not take his money or things away. Armed robbers attacked this man, killed him, and did not take much at all away from him. Up to today, from 2015 up to now, 7 years plus, we don't know who killed JB Dankwa. But you see, Ateafe, Ateana. So nobody is going to escape. The spirit of JB Dankwa is going to haunt them until they run away. They're not going to go free. So on the tangible physical level, we've broken the yielding points and we are dangerously, menacingly approaching the breaking point. And nothing will stop Nana will save Nana. Nothing. And then we have the intangible, the invisible parts. And I'm telling you, it is real. And he knows it's real. But anyway, we'll leave that for providence. But I'm telling you that these are the issues. This is why the state is collapsing. Physically, they cannot manage anything. And spiritually, they've destroyed everything. Next slide. Manifestation of the state collapse. The wicked runs away without a pursuer. And that's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, nothing will save Nana. He's not going to be pursued by the army. The army is going to pursue him so that he will have cover. Or if I had not been overthrown, he will run away like Rajapaksa did in Sri Lanka. You watch this space. It will be untenable. You run away. It will be untenable. What's going to happen? You know, what's the name of that girl? Liz Truss. She said, now, considering everything, she realized that she could not deliver the mandate upon which the Conservative Party elected her. So she has resigned. Nana is not going to do that. We will have the luxury to do that. It doesn't matter how stupidly stubborn you think he is. I'm telling you, take my word, nothing will save him. Nothing will save him. And he knows that. You could see his demeanor has changed. You know, it was in Kumasi. I don't understand the chief very well, but it was in Kumasi. I think he was asked some questions. Yeah, whatever, you can vote or something. Because he knows the end is near. His fate is sealed, physically and spiritually. That will save him. I'm telling you, nothing will save him. The wicked runs when there is no pursuer. Nobody's going to pursue him. He will run himself. Because everything just collapses around him. Trust me. It's so obvious. And I saw this thing way back from last time when Ken read the budget and I saw the lies, the unnecessary lies and the fabrications and the distortions and the over projections. I said they'll get to this place. And I kept saying that when the cost is the same, the effect remains constant. If Ghana gets to where Sri Lanka got to, what happened in Sri Lanka will happen in Ghana. And there's no way of escaping that. There's no way of escaping that. So then what next? Next slide, please. Okay. So the solution to Ghana is not debt restructuring. Okay? That's foolish talk. It's not debt restructuring. It doesn't matter what name you call it, that debt is not sustainable. The solution to Ghana is foundational. We need a new state. We need a new state. Nana is going to run away. We're going to have a government of national unity that will write a new constitution that will define the new state. And we're going to have our elections as planned, December 2024. And I'm telling you now that an ARM inspired organization will win the elections hands down. I can see that happening. We are going to build a new state that the whole world will come and watch. That they will come and access. How did you do it? It's not going to be only for Ghana, but for Africa, for the developing world, and even for the developed world. You see how the market has captured England, Britain? Yes, they created that monster. And then the monster is devouring its master. Now, no politician in Britain can do anything without getting clearance from the market. They will come and learn from us how to do it. Yes, they will come because we are bold and we are not going to be dictated to by any stupid market. Let me tell you a bit about the market. I think it was 1990s or 1990s. I can't remember. 1990s, 1997, 1997. Mandela then was president of South Africa, and I think he slipped on the stairs at work or something. So he hurt his knee. So when he hurt his knee, and the news, oh, Mandela has hurt his knee, then the rand fell against the dollar, and the JS, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, crashed. So Mandela was taken to the hospital. He had an MRI and things. Oh no, nothing much. It's just a bit of tear here and there. He'll be okay with some. Doesn't need operation. And then the market recovered. So the issue was put to Mandela, in the hospital. Oh, Mr. President, do you know that this will happen to you? The market responds to your injury, so you got to be careful. Then he said, hello, pardon me. Can you please give me the email of the man called the market? Because I'm going to write to Dear Mr. Market. How is it that because of my injury, the value of our currency dropped against the dollar and the stock exchange collapsed? Where is the link? You see, if I say I don't trust you, Mr. Market, I'll be called a communist. But is that the way to behave? An old man twists his ankle, his knee, and then everything has to collapse. What is the economics behind that? And everybody was laughing on the floor. And they said, yeah, if I say I don't trust you, they will tell me I'm a communist. But is that the way to behave, Mr. Market? And that's where we are today. The market is telling British politicians that, no, you cannot decide for your country. If I say, no, your prime minister will have to go, your finance minister have to go, because I am the electorate. That is a market they created. They don't know even how to govern their own country. Now people are running away from becoming prime minister of England, of Britain. They're running away because they don't know what to do. Whether they go to tighten the market like the Bank of England is doing, or they go for pro-growth, stimulating the economy like Kwesi tried to do. They don't know what to do. That is there. What I'm telling you is that an ARM-inspired organization will win the elections hands down, and Ghana shall be great again. Chwa Omanyaba.
Thank you for that, Dr. Nee. And before I go to the questions, I mean, maybe you've kind of touched upon it already, but just want to be clear. You mentioned that the reserves are going to be finished. If things go on the way they are, the reserves are going to be finished by November.
Yeah, if the trajectory is correct,
Mm-hmm.
because it was 9 months of imports at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And as at the end of September, it's dropped to 2 months of imports.
Right.
So we're losing almost 1 month of import every month.
So worst case. So go on, sorry.
You see, because this is what happens when they print money.
Mm-hmm.
You see, what people do not understand is this: they're talking about the cocoa money, all right, 1.3 billion. Okay, so this 1.3 billion dollar comes. this money comes to the system. How are they going to pay the cocoa farmers? They're going to print CDs. They're going to print CDs to pay the cocoa farmers. And that's going to increase the supply of CD into the system again, and that will further depreciate the dollar. The CD against the dollar. Because they don't have CDs lying there to pay the cocoa farmers. They want the dollars to buffer the market. That's fair enough. That's good. At least we have something that Sri Lanka didn't have. We have this amount. We have this cocoa money, 1.3 billion. But in order to use that money, you have to pay the cocoa farmers in CDs.
Yes.
Where do you get the CDs from? So you're going to increase the supply of CDs again. It's going to push the inflation up. It's going to drop the value of the CD. Then you bring interest rate. They increase bank loans. And it's a complete meltdown. They haven't got what it takes to hold it. They don't know where to push it down, where to bring it up, where to balance it. They just have no faintest idea. And I've been advising them for the past 11 months. When this thing started, now revenue has dropped at the ports. Because people are not bringing things in, because anytime they bring a thing in, the dollar to the city value has changed. And they pay more cedis because the duty is calculated in dollars and converted in cedis. So once somebody paid, say $100, and the person pays 600 cedis in January, today that 100, the person will have to pay 1,500 for the duty. The person has to pay 1,500 for what he pays 600. Now the difference of 900 cedis, who will bear it? Either the person absorbs that as part of his cost, and therefore there will be no profit for the person, or the person will pass it on to the consumer, whose purchasing power has reduced anyway because of the inflation itself. So there's no disposable money to buy any of these things. So the person will do what? Will not import at all. And then that reduces the revenue for the port. Their projections then become zero. Because people are not bringing things in. Because when they bring things in, they can't pay the duty. Because if they pay the duty, they cannot make profit. They will lose money. So then they will try and do something else with the money within Ghana. Because what they used to buy, if they used to change $100 to buy something, they had to change 600 cedis to buy something $100 in Australia or in America or in Canada or in UK. Now to get the same $100 itself, they have to change 1,500 cedis. Okay, so that part is there. And then when they come to the port too, they have to pay this amount again at the port. There will be no profit. So I told them to do what we call sandbagging. Fix the dollar to the cedi at the port. So that if we were paying 6 cedis to the dollar last year by this time, let them pay 6 cedis to the dollar this year so that they will still continue doing their business. They bring the things in, you may get tax from people, from workers, employees, and stuff like that. But they don't understand. They don't understand. So yes, from the projections that I saw, by the end of November, it will be critical. But you see, we'll have 1.3 billion dollars. Okay, well, we definitely have that money from cocoa. All right, so that reserve part could be, unfortunately, the 1.3 will be 3 months of imports of oil. So it's not going to last much. They are hoping that then the IMF 3 billion will come in at the beginning of next year. And then when that finishes, then what happens? So that's the way they run the economy. Pay as you go.
You said, but barring a miracle, if it comes to November, the reserve's going to be finished, basically, barring a miracle. So
yes.
Ghana will collapse by that point, is basically what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The only saving grace, unlike Sri Lanka, okay, so there's a slight difference between our debt profile and that of Sri Lanka. Let me say it again. At the end of June, Sri Lanka's debt, 73.5, almost 3/4, of Sri Lankan's debt was in dollars. So when their currency depreciated heavily, it knocked them off completely. As at end of September, Ghana's debt, only 53%, is in dollars. So you realize that because of that, the depreciation of the currency will not have the same effect on the debt to GDP ratio as it did with Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, though, we have bypassed Sri Lanka now in terms of depreciation against the dollar. So our depreciation is bigger now. So we are moving close to Sri Lanka, and they don't have the bulk of cocoa money that we do. Okay, so but the cocoa money, the 1.3, they'll use 450 for the first month, million, to buy fuel to start with. So we'll be left about 850. That will go in 2 months. And they have to print cities to pay the cocoa farmers. And that's going to weaken the already weak city to 20.
So there's pretty much literally nothing that can be done really in terms of trying to get a grip at this late stage, trying to get a grip on the debts that Ghana has. There's nothing really that can be done, is there?
No. The government will have to go, and nobody will chase Nana. The wicked person runs without a pursuer. He will run himself. I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do about it. And when the new interim government comes, government of national unity, people always, even in financial capital, finance capital, what do you call it? Capital markets, they will give that government, what do you call that thing? Grace period, honeymoon period. So there will be a bit of time to try and work things out, and things can be moderated. For instance, any government comes, that will slash the ministers to 25. That will slash parliament to 100. That will slash regions to 10. That will slash district to 55. That will slash embassies to 25. And you see the amount of money we'll save just by that. That's how you restructure your debt. That's the proper way. That's the structural change to the debt producing system. But doing haircuts and funny things and things with domestic debt is primitive. It's crazy.
Okay, let's just get into the questions. Kenneth said, Ghana's economy is clinically dead. We are being told by the unsackable Minister of Finance, don't panic. Really? It appears we the citizens are not angry enough. Time up. Arise, people power.
Ken, we are there already, trust me. Don't worry. He's the one panicking, not you and I. He'll run away. He's going to cite medical reasons. You go to America and won't come back to Ghana. He'll run away. This boy. He ran away. They have no clue what to do. They've borrowed money so much because every dollar they borrow, this guy's company, Data Bank, gets a commission. So they just borrow money we don't even need because we don't know what the money has been used for. Yeah. But when the people come, when the people come to power, you're going to have what they call criminal economic mismanagement. It's going to be on our statute books. And we're going to have criminal economic mismanagement as a crime against the state. And it's going to be butu. They're not going to go free to make Ghana the laughing stock of the world.
Eric has said here, the trade minister assured importers yesterday that they were going to keep import duties the same for the next 3 months.
They can't even take what I told them. You see, it's a form of that. I know they heard what I said, but this is not the way to do it. Because for the next 3 months, what happens after that? The city is going to be 25 to the dollar. It's foolish talk. You don't do it that way. you tell them that you fix the rate of the dollar to December last year. Case closed. But they've taken the concept. Thank you for, I didn't know this information. They've taken the concept, but they want it to appear is their own. So they are not going exactly what I said. You sandbag it. We're having floods in Australia. Everywhere is sandbagged. That's what you do. We're having floods everywhere in Australia. So you sandbag against the flood. You raise the standard. And that's what you do. That when your currency is under siege, you raise the standard to help others move through. You fix the dollar and let people bring things in. Otherwise, everything will collapse completely. I'm telling you.
It says here, in addition to cutting down expenditure, we need to live within our means by restricting frivolous imports, whilst accelerating our production and export drive, which was supposed to be driven by 1D, 1F. But all that.
Yeah, that's true. You see, in all fairness, Nkrumah had the idea of import substitution. It wasn't managed well because at that point, when he started it, probably in 63, it was already spiritually out. It was badly managed to the point that in the first year of that import substitution thing, Ghana lost 23 million pounds since 1963. Multiply that by 24. Then you see the amount of pounds we lost because it wasn't properly managed. The Achampon also came with the same import substitution, and the focus was on the north. But again, Achampon was a bit more manageable. We tried for the first, and Ghana started exporting maize and things like that. But then he also degassed. By 75, he was tired with that thing. So import substitution is core for the medium-term, long-term solution to our terms of trade. Okay. Our terms of trade basically is the difference between what we export and what we import. It fits well into our balance of payment, which is very negative now. Because everything is import-driven. All right. Now, import substitution is a good policy. I mean, you got to tweak it. When you see my book on the North and Water, I'm not going to go into that thing here because of the plagiarist, okay? But when you see my book on how I'm tackling import substitution, you just say, so it will come.
Okay. Because also asked, would you promote 1D, 1F when you become the number one in command?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You see, we love slogans. You see, because when you say one district, one factory, what do you mean? We have a district with 500,000 people. You have another district with 50,000 people. So how do you build one factory for them? What's the proportion? Now, if you are going to do something, you're going to say one factory for 50,000 people or for 100,000 people, then it becomes proportional. So that where we have 500,000, you're going to have 5 districts there, 5 factories there. And when you have 100,000, you're going to have 1 factory there. What I'm saying is this: it's all just talk. There's no science behind that. Now, sustainable growth, profitable growth can never be done through government. The global evidence is overwhelming. Even communist China has left that field to individuals to do. What government will have to do is creating an enabling environment, rule of law, property rights. Those are the things that augment production. So when these things are there, that one person will not sell land to 3 people, and you are secure that this land you've bought to do this business is going to go on, you realize that there will be no need for government to come and build a factory there. What government will have to do is to energize its missions. In Australia, we call it foreign DFAT, Department of Foreign and Trade. Now, our missions abroad, they are not for only diplomatic and what do you call that thing? What do you call that thing? It's not only for diplomacy. It's also the final channel for trade. So it's a joint. So all our foreign missions are joint. DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. That's what our embassies should do. So that everybody will know about Gary, that is the best pre-cooked food in the world. So that the woman in Dodua who makes Gary will not pack the Gary by the roadside. Potential money, we need kinetic money, moving money. So you got to develop the platform that the potential money which is sitting there becomes kinetic money. Then you eradicate poverty. That's the way to do it. They don't have the faintest idea. We are buying all sort of funny macaronis and whatever in Ghana. How did they get to Ghana? Where do we have our products there? So restructuring. I mean, when you see, I'm gonna post the structure of the book on my WhatsApp thing, so that you relax. Okay, you go and get some pito and say that the solution is coming. Get pito, get palm wine, drink and relax, because we've talked about all this already.
Okay, thank you for some earlier comments. Catherine so says, "Good morning from Ghana. But like the phoenix, she will rise from the ashes if we seize the chance." I believe she means.
Yeah. Catherine, thank you very much. You know what? I went to Ghana Secondary School, and do you know the motto of my school? Carpe diem, seize the opportunity. So my whole life, I've been guided by that motto of my school: Carpe diem, seize the day,
Yes.
seize the opportunity, and we're going to seize the opportunity because this old boy, is going to run away, and we'll fill the gap, and we'll fix everything. Don't worry.
Tete says, "It looks like Ghana is adding toys 1948. Don't know what that means.
Oh, okay. I think he's talking about the new cabinet led boycott.
Okay.
The
Okay.
boycott, that rode into the state of emergency that catalyzed our independence movement. So basically, he's saying that it looks like we are going in that direction again. Yes, in a better way.
Okay. And earlier, Eric had said, "I think we need to find a space on a radio station so that we can broadcast these messages to a wider audience."
Yes, boss. I think that's the way to go, and the time will come.
Yeah.
You see, what people don't understand, you see, the fundamental issue here is this. You are a mathematician, so you understand me immediately that poverty equals expenditure, or poverty results when expenditure is bigger than income. Full stop. What is created when income is bigger than expenditure? Now, you are not going to eradicate poverty if you cannot solve that equation. At the individual level, at the income of the home level, up to the national level. If somebody makes palm wine, like what do you call it, palm oil, and you go from Accra to Somani or Dumas or whatever, you see the road littered with all these palm oil things there. Now, that is money. But it means nothing because nobody is buying it. Production ends with consumption. So if you put the hurdle Between the producer and the consumer, you create poverty. To eradicate poverty, you have to remove that hurdle. That is the work of government, not building factories. Because if you build the factories, someone will have to produce the what is produced in the factory before it becomes helpful. So we lack market access. They don't understand it.
Okay. Sheikh has said here, so where should our redemption come from? This is an earlier question.
Koleki. Yeah, somebody told me many years ago that, oh yeah, you with your Messiah complex. Yeah, she knows that person. No, but look, it's not complicated.
Yeah.
It's not very complicated. Consumption, production ends with consumption. Until the thing drops in the mouth of the consumer, it is still potential money. That's what you learn in physics. Potential energy and kinetic energy. Basic physics, Engba will tell you. As long as the body is stationary and it's not in motion, the energy possessed by that body is potential. Once it starts moving, work is being done, it becomes kinetic energy. And that's the problem we have. We don't have market access. The trade minister talking there, he also wants to be president. An absolute joker. Which market has he created in 6 years? Now, after I spoke about sandbagging, I say, oh, they're going to quarantine it for 3 months. What is 3 months in the big scheme of things?
Yeah.
They don't even understand it.
Okay. Okay, it's also said Goliath must go.
Yes. David is coming.
Yes. On that note, just some greetings, Dr. New. Very been saying Kenneth Surf is on here saying good morning.
Yes, no, it's all possible. It's really possible because now UK people are running away.
Yeah.
People are running away from taking a job because they cannot do anything without getting a tick from the market.
Yeah.
Politicians can no longer decide because if they decide, I mean, I don't talk about this thing again because I know that the monster, the market monster was created by, in fact, that's at the center of the Anglo-American hegemony. Now, the monster has eaten up the Anglo part. Okay? It's not the Anglo part, it's left the American part. And the jokers are the feds. Take my word, okay? If they proceed the way they are going with the interest rate, by the time they reach 4.55% interest in America, America will be in recession. Mark my words, by June next year. Because they don't know what they are doing. I don't want to sound too grandiose, but mark my words, all of you are listening to me. I'm saying that if they decide to keep increasing the interest rate, but it gets to 4.55% interest rate, America will be in recession. And when America goes into recession, it's exposed to say to the rest of the world. And then you see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The Anglo-American system is unraveling. What does Britain do? Hey, because Britain, okay, has for since the collapse of the empire, has lived on London being the financial capital of the world. So they juggle things here and there. It's like when we're kids in Osu. People do a lot of gambling, playing cards gambling, and Chekowa. That will tell you Chekowa gambling. And the owner of the Chekowa, he started to call it takes boats. The boat means that if 6 of you, right, are playing the Chekowa, and the game finishes, and you all put down, say, £1. Okay. Now, when the game finishes, only one person wins. So the person takes the £5 and gives £1 to the owner of the system. So that's what they call the boat. He doesn't play. So by every round, he gets £1. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't play the playing cards, the gambling playing card. If 4 of you play and one person wins, the one person wins, takes the money of the 3 people who bet, and he gives one of the money to the owner of the card system. That's the way Britain has lived his whole life. That's what it means to have London as the financial capital of the world. People come and bet and do all these their things there, and they just take the boats. If none of you fight over it, they just take one. You all bring £1. Okay, I take one. It doesn't contribute anything. Otherwise, where does he get his money from? And the market is not saying that. No, because people don't think. When the market says no, on whose side is the market? Is the market on the side of the poor? Is the market on the side of the poor? Or on the side of the rich investor? So when the market is fighting you, you must do something fundamentally wrong. Is the market on the side of the poor? That's a question. The question is that is the market on the side of the poor? You see why at some point Apostle Paul was upset and he said, "You foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?" The brain stopped working in Galatia. And as I'm saying, you foolish Africans, who has bewitched you? You don't even understand the basis of the argument. On whose side is the market? The poor or the rich investor?
Yeah.
So I believe in, whatever. Okay. I'm a low tax man. I'm a lean government man. I am efficient citizen guy. 3 things. Efficiency of the citizen, a lean government, a low tax regime. Any day. So when Kwesi decided that he was going to keep the UK company tax as 19%, which is the lowest in the G20, he knew that London has nothing else to offer. If companies want to invest somewhere, they want to come where the tax is low. In Australia, it's 28%. So a normal person who has money to invest in building a company or whatever would rather come to England rather than Australia because of the differentials. And that was his thinking. That was his thinking. But a nebulous market said no. I mean, we live in a world where that joker, the leader of Labour, when he was asked who is a woman, he couldn't even open his mouth because he's scared of the transgenders. They run the world. You couldn't say my wife is a woman. He'll be devoured.
Yeah.
And that's look at people who are shouting, wah, making all the noise. What did Kwesi do wrong? Now let me talk. 2008 in Australia, during the financial global financial crisis, you know what Australia did? Australian government gave every worker $900. It cost the government $10.4 billion to stimulate the economy. What is $2 billion tax to be paid? $2 billion tax cut for top end. 10.4 billion. At that time, the Australian dollar was one to the US dollar. So 10.4 billion US dollars. I got 900 check from Australian government. 2008, yes, because the argument is that you have to stimulate the economy. People must spend to keep retail going, to keep people in job. If retail is not working, people have to lose their job. They don't understand. Like Judas, when the woman was going to buy smear Jesus' feet with the oil, say, "Oh no, why don't we sell it and give it to the poor?" It doesn't work like that. Yes, said no, the poor will be with you forever, and that's the way, because people are poor because of attitude, largely because of attitude. Of course, in Africa, it's lack of opportunities, but in some places, it's attitude. I have people here, patients here, 5 generations did not work before. You don't plan your economy based on that. You plan your economy so that the best will come into your country to come and manage your economy for you to benefit those poor people.
Mhm.
Any economy that is well managed benefits the poor more than the rich. Simple. And that's what David said. When righteous people govern, the people rejoice. When wicked men govern, people mourn. When an economy is well managed, it benefits the poor more than the rich. That's why in Ghana and Nigeria, the rich, they don't care.
Mm.
When an economy is poorly managed, the poor suffers more than the rich.
Yeah.
So when somebody brings a policy that will attract the best to come to that country, you got to chill and let's see how it pans out.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm paying 45% tax in Australia, okay, nothing this will move into England if I'm going to pay 45% tax there. If I'm going to pay 40% tax there, I may move there depending on one or two things. Now, it's all part of trying to build an efficient system.
Mm-hmm.
It may not sit well with everybody because nothing sits well with everybody. Let's forget about them. All right, Ghana matter. Let's go.
Okay. We've got Nielante Bruce, and good morning.
Hey, Wenu, I know it. Thank you very much. Yeah, good morning.
And the final question / statement from Kenneth: are we just going to let nation records run away? Surely they will have to face the music also. I think you mentioned that. You mentioned that.
Yeah, that's right. There's going to be on our statute books criminal economic mismanagement. You're not gonna run away. You're not gonna run away. You go and come back.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to sign extradition treaties with a lot of countries. You're not going to run away. Yeah, you're not going to run away. Don't stress.
Okay, well, that's everything, Dr. Nee. That's everybody.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that very enlightening and eye-opening and rather worrying in places workshop with regards to what's happening with the Ghanaian economy. Thank you. And for those of you who've tuned in as well, thank you. I hope that's given you something to think about, food for thought, as well as possibly some comfort as well. As always, we're going to be back here, same channel, same time. It's going to be 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks. Yeah. What's today? What would be the date actually? What's today's date? 22. So that's 9.
So that'll be the 5th of November. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fine. That's good.
Okay. So the next one will be on the
That's
5th of November, and I believe the clocks will fall back. On the outside, the clocks will go back that time. Yeah.
So you be on the same time wavelength as Ghana.
But yeah, we'll now found on the same time. Yeah. And how will that affect you? Your timing? Can't remember.
Yeah, I'm the same.
You're the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see you back here on the 5th of November, everybody. Okay. So you enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your weekend. Like I say, contact Dr. Nee on his social media platforms, read his books, and we'll see you again then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.